Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. You ever spend so long underground that the dark feels thicker than air? That's what the first few hours of a shift are like. Helmet lamp cut in a weak cone, dust hanging in it like snow that never lands. You start tasting the stone after a while. Bitter, dry, like pennies melting on your tongue. It never leaves your teeth. That night, or morning, hell, it's hard to tell time down there. We were 12 men, split across 3 crews. I was on vent detail, shoring up where the ceiling liked to sag. Same rhythm as always. Drills chewing, timber creaking, the generator thumping somewhere deep. It was ordinary enough that I stopped noticing my own breathing. That's when the wrongness started. At first, it sounded like water dripping. Soft, regular. We thought it was nothing. Water always finds a way through the rock. But after a while, it wasn't water. Too sharp, like knuckles rapping wood. Tap, tap, tap. Same beat, over and over, just faint enough to get under the skin. Someone joked it was the knockers, old miner superstition. Spirits of the ones who died in cave-ins, warning the living of trouble ahead. We all laughed like we didn't half believe it. The stone has a way of making jokes stick in your gut. Then the ground shifted, a quick, gut-deep rumble that knocked dust loose from the ceiling. I coughed black mud into my palm. Everyone froze, eyes on the timber supports. They groaned but held. A second shiver came, stronger, and that's when a side shaft gave way. Whole stretch of wall slumped inward, folding like wet paper. We rushed in, coughing through the dust cloud, trying to find who'd been working closest. Visibility was nothing, just a yellow fog lit by our headlamps. The air got heavy, pressing on the chest, felt like breathing through a pillow. We found a body under the rubble, half pinned by stone. We thought it was Sam at first, but when we hauled the rock free, no one recognized him. Skin looked fresh. His boots weren't ours. His face, gray around the lips, glassy-eyed. But he couldn't have been dead more than minutes. "Where the hell'd he come from?" one of the guys muttered. Nobody had an answer. We were 6 miles down. No cross tunnels from other mines this deep. It was impossible. That's when he twitched. A little jerk of the shoulder, like a nerve firing after death. Then his jaw cracked wide open, and he dragged in a wet, tearing breath that didn't sound like air at all. I'll admit it, I screamed. Everyone jumped back, some falling over themselves. His chest heaved once, twice, then he snapped forward and clamped teeth into the wrist of the man pulling him out. The sound it made, wet fabric ripping. Then the crunch echoed so hard it felt like it happened in my own arm. We tore him off, but he kept thrashing, jaw working like he was starved. The man he'd bitten screamed until the sound died in his throat. He was bleeding so fast there wasn't any saving him. And the one who'd bit him, he didn't stop. He shouldn't have even been alive. We killed the lamps in panic, like darkness was safer. But darkness underground is never empty. We could hear them now, shuffling, boots dragging, more than one. From deeper in the collapsed shaft, something was moving. That was when we realized it wasn't just a cave-in. Something had opened. Something had let them in. We ran. No one decided on it. No words spoken. We just knew staying there meant death. Our lamps bobbed in the dark like fireflies, dust thick enough to choke, lungs burning as we pushed deeper into tunnels that felt suddenly unfamiliar. Supports creaked like they were listening. Hours blurred after that. We kept going, half blind, breathing air that was getting harder to pull into our lungs. My lamp dimmed until shadows swallowed more than it lit. We stopped talking, only listening. Every sound was doubled in the stone. Somewhere behind us, feet dragged across gravel. The biting man didn't stay down. We heard him again, wheezing, closer than he should have been, and every knock we'd heard before, it hadn't stopped. The tapping was still there, louder now, like the rock itself had learned how to knock back. I lost track of how long we kept moving after the collapse. Could have been minutes, could have been hours. Time turns useless when all you've got is a dying lamp and the sound of boots scraping rock. The deeper we pushed, the worse the air got. Felt like dragging smoke into your lungs. Every cough rattled, left grit on your tongue. We argued about turning back, maybe breaking through to a service shaft we knew was closer to the surface. But every time we stopped, we heard them. Feet dragging, hands brushing the walls. Sometimes it sounded like only one was following. Then it sounded like dozens. The stone likes to lie. By the time we stumbled into the machinery bay, most of us were trembling, not just from fear. Our lamps were guttering. Batteries don't last forever, and in the dark, you stop feeling like a man and start feeling like meat. The bay was wide as a church, timber supports thick as tree trunks, drills and presses rusting in the corners. It should have felt safe. It didn't. The shadows were too deep, the smell of grease and iron too heavy. We barricaded the entry with scrap. Someone got the big drill running, a monster of a thing that shrieked as it spun up. The noise was deafening, but at least it was something solid, something louder than the tapping. That's when they came. The first one shuffled out of the dark like it belonged there. Its helmet lamp was shattered, wires hanging like veins. Its jaw swung loose, teeth clattering on stone. We rushed it, 4 men with pickaxes and a drill. The drill bit caught flesh, tearing it into a mess of bone and slurry. The smell was unbearable, but the thing kept moving, twitching forward as if it didn't know it was ruined. Then the rest followed. They poured from the tunnels, half in uniforms like ours, half in rotting rags from God knows when. Their mouths opened, but no words came, just that sound, like air trying to escape wet lungs. They didn't scream. They didn't moan. They just pushed toward us, eyes glassy, skin gray as the walls. We fought. God help me, we fought. Drills screamed. Picks cracked skulls. Someone used a sledgehammer until his arms went limp, until nothing moved but the spray of blood across the wall. But for every one that dropped, another stumbled out of the dark. The noise drew them. We should have known. The drill was too loud. The fights too loud. Everything echoed until it felt like the mine itself was vibrating with their hunger. The wall gave way then. Not just a cave-in, an entire section of stone split open like rotten wood. Behind it was an older shaft, abandoned, half collapsed, packed with corpses that shouldn't have been standing. When fresh air touched them, they stirred like someone had just shaken them awake. We ran. There was no choice left. The barricade collapsed behind us, torn apart by hands that had no business moving. We scrambled into the crawl spaces, narrow gaps cut for ventilation, barely wide enough to squeeze through. Stone pressed against my ribs, ribs pressed against lungs, lungs pressed against what little air was left. Headlamps scraped rock above us, sparks spitting. The noise behind us didn't fade. They were crawling too, somehow fitting into spaces no body should. Halfway through, a man got stuck. His belt caught on jagged rock. We pulled, cursed, shoved. His breathing turned ragged, panicked. Then hands appeared behind him, gray, cracked fingers worming through the gap. They hooked into his flesh, dug deep. His boots scraped stone as they yanked him back. He screamed until the sound stopped. Then we were moving again, choking on silence. Every breath was shallow, air thinning to nothing. My lamp dimmed to a glow. It was enough to see the tunnel ahead bend like a throat swallowing us whole. We didn't know if it led out or just deeper. Either way, there was no turning back. We came out of the crawl spaces coughing so hard our ribs ached. What little air was left tasted like wet ash. A couple of the lamps had gone completely black. The rest glowed so weak it felt like walking by candlelight in a storm. Every breath hurt. That was when Tom, quiet Tom, who never spoke more than a few words in a shift, said what we were all thinking. We can't outrun them. Gotta bury 'em. It wasn't brave. It wasn't a speech. Just truth. The dead didn't tire. We did. The only weapon left was the mine itself. So we gathered dynamite, old sticks from storage, powder-crusted but still potent. Our hands shook as we packed charges into the fault lines, places we knew the mountain liked to give. Some of us prayed under our breath. Some swore. Some stayed silent. The first of them found us before we finished. I saw their lamps first, ghostly pinpricks bobbing in the dark where no light should be. Then the shapes came, one after another, filling the tunnel like water pushing through cracks. We lit a line of powder and the tunnel flashed white, thunder cracking through stone. Rock rained down, crushing the first wave. For a second, it felt like it might work, but they kept coming. Pieces of them clawed through rubble, arms dragging torsos, faces crushed flat, still snapping. We fought in the glow of sparks and fuses. A drill burned out mid-scream, its motor coughing smoke. A pickaxe split skull after skull until the man swinging it was pulled under and disappeared in a wall of gray hands. Then the charges were ready. Only one way out now. Someone had to hold the line. Tom didn't wait for anyone to argue. He revved the handheld drill, teeth gnashing on metal, and charged into the mass of them. The sound of that bit chewing bone was worse than any scream. He bought us seconds, nothing more, but it was enough. We ran. The fuses hissed behind us, shadows dancing mad on the walls. The dead followed, silent, relentless, jaws snapping in the dark. The blast hit like the end of the world. Stone buckled, air punched out of my lungs. Dust turned the world into a white storm. For a heartbeat, I thought the mountain had swallowed us too. When I woke, I was on my stomach, mouth full of grit, ears ringing so loud I thought I'd gone deaf. The others were coughing nearby, crawling toward a rusted ladder that led to a ventilation shaft. We climbed, each rung slick with sweat and blood. My chest burned, lungs pulling nothing but poison. When we broke through the hatch, the sky felt wrong. Too open, too bright. Pale dawn washed over us, cold and thin, like it didn't belong to the same world we'd just crawled out of. We collapsed on the ground, staring back at the shaft as it belched dust. The mine groaned deep below, a sound like something still moving, still shifting. One of the men whispered, voice cracked to nothing, "It's not buried, not all of it." And for the rest of my life, I'll swear I could still hear it. That tapping. Far below, patient, waiting,